Okay, I'm gonna read one of my older posts uh, that I haven't already read and made into a video. This one is called "Out of Control Judges." Let me bring it up real quick. Okay, share. Let me make sure I'm sharing properly and I'm in the right place. Okay, let's go ahead and let's get to this. Get through this one. Out of control judges. The lawful arrests of judges for harboring undocumented immigrants and obstructing ICE. A closer look by me, Sammy Descoyle. All right. In recent weeks, the arrests of two judges. All right. Everything read is a hyperlink. Okay, to the proof. All right. Judges, Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan and former New Mexico Judge Joe Cano have sparked intense debate. These cases tied to allegations of harboring undocumented immigrants and obstructing U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) operations represent a significant escalation in the enforcement of federal immigration laws. Critics argue these arrests threaten judicial independence, while supporters, including myself and officials in the Trump administration, insist they uphold the rule of law. Ugh. This article examines the law basis for these arrests, the specific allegations, and the broader implications for the judiciary and immigration enforcement. All right, the legal framework, harboring and obstruction. Federal law provides clear guidelines on actions that constitute harboring undocumented immigrants or obstructing federal law enforcement under 8 USC 1324. Okay, here's the link to it. It's a felony to knowingly harbor, conceal, or shield an undocumented immigrant from detection by immigration authorities with the intent to further their unlawful presence in the United States. All right, that's exactly what this judge did. She knowingly broke this federal statute. Okay. Penalties can include up to 5 years in prison per violation, with harsher sentences if the offense involves serious harm or commercial gain. Additionally, 18 USC 1505 addresses obstruction of proceedings before federal agencies, such as ICE, making it a crime to interfere with the lawful execution of federal duties. This can include actions like concealing an individual to prevent their arrest, which this judge did, or impeding federal officers, which they did. Violators face up to 5 years in prison. These statutes form the backbone of the charges against Judge Dugan and Cano, reflecting the judge's department's authority to prosecute individuals regardless of position who violate federal immigration enforcement laws. Case 1, Judge Hannah Dugan's arrest in Milwaukee. On April 25th, 2025, FBI agents arrested Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan at Milwaukee County Courthouse, charging her with obstruction of a federal proceeding and concealing an individual to prevent arrest. The allegations stem from an incident on April 18, 2025, involving Edward Flores Ruiz, a Mexican national and undocumented immigrant or illegal immigrant, facing misdemeanor battery charges in Dugan's courtroom. According to a federal criminal complaint, ICE, FBI, and DEA agents arrived at the courthouse to arrest Flores Ruiz, who had been issued an expedited removal order in 2013 after illegally entering the U.S. from Mexico The complaint alleges that Dugan, upon learning of ICE's presence, became visibly angry, called the situation absurd, and took deliberate steps to help Flores evade arrest. Specifically, Dugan confronted ICE agents in the courthouse hallway. There's video evidence of this right there, demanding they produce a judicial warrant rather than the administrative warrant they held, despite administrative warrants being legally sufficient for ICE arrests. She instructed the agents to meet with the chief judge, diverting them from their operation. Dugan then escorted Flores Ruiz and his attorney through a restricted jury door, bypassing the public hallway where ICE agents were waiting. This allowed Flores Ruiz to exit the courthouse though agents later apprehended him after a short foot race. All right. There was a whole lot more to this, but we all know it, so I just put the basics in there. FBI Director Kash Patel stated on X that Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents, creating increased danger to the public by forcing a street chase. Attorney General Pam Bondi emphasized that Flores Ruiz was a violent criminal who allegedly hospitalized 2 victims. Underscoring the public safety risks of Dugan's actions, the complaint cites multiple witnesses, including a courtroom deputy who heard Dugan instruct Flores Ruiz to come with me toward the non-public exit. Dugan's attorney, Craig Master argued at her initial court appearance that the arrest was not made in the interest of public safety and that Dugan wholeheartedly regrets and protests the charges. However, the legal threshold for obstruction under 18 U.S.C. 1505 does not require proof of success, only intent to impede. Dugan's alleged actions, which are all on video, including diverting agents and facilitating Flores Ruiz's exit, appear to meet this standard, providing a lawful basis for her arrest. Case number 2, former Judge Joel Cano and Nancy Cano in New Mexico. On April 2025, federal authorities arrested former Dona Ana County Magistrate Judge Joel Cano and his wife Nancy Cano in New Mexico, charging them with tampering with evidence related to harboring an undocumented immigrant. The case involves Christian Ortega, a Venezuelan national suspected of ties to the Trendiawagra gang, who was allegedly residing at Cano's home. Court documents reveal that ICE received a tip in January 2025 that Ortega, charged separately with possessing a firearm as an undocumented immigrant, was staying at the Cano's property. On February 28, 2025, agents arrested Ortega at his residence. I didn't know why I didn't put his. Following a subsequent raid on April 24th. Joe Cano admitted to destroying Ortega's cell phone by smashing it with a hammer, which was the dumbest thing he could have done, and discarding it, believing it contained incriminating photos or videos, such as images of Ortega with firearms. This act led to charges under 18 U.S.C. 1519, which prohibits destroying evidence to obstruct the federal investigation, carrying a potential 20-year sentence. Who else smashed a whole bunch of cell phones and Blackberries with a hammer? But they got away with it. While Cano's charges focus on tampering rather than direct harboring under 8 U.S.C. 1324, their actions housing Ortega and destroying evidence align with broader efforts to shield an undocumented immigrant from federal authorities. Cano resigned from the bench on March 3rd, 2025, days after the initial raid. Suggesting awareness of the gravity of his actions, Attorney General Bondi highlighted the case as evidence of judges thinking they're above the law, reinforcing the administration's stance that no one is exempt from prosecution, or better yet, no one is above the law. The border context, a pattern of judicial interference. These arrests are not entirely unprecedented. In 2019, during President Trump's first term, Massachusetts District Court Shelley M. Richmond Joseph and Court Officer Wesley McGregor were indicted for obstruction of justice. They allegedly helped an undocumented immigrant from the Dominican Republic avoid ICE by allowing him to exit Newton District Court through a basement door in 2018. The charges were dropped in 2022 under the Biden administration, as part of an agreement requiring Joseph to face a state judicial ethics review. But this case set a precedent for prosecuting judges' interference with ICE operations. The Trump administration's renewed focus on such cases reflects a broader directive from the Judicial Department. In January 2025, Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove issued a memo prioritizing investigations into state and local officials, including judges, who obstruct federal immigration enforcement. This policy, coupled with President Trump's aggressive deportation agenda, has led to heightened scrutiny of actions perceived as undermining ICE's mandate to protect public safety and national security. Criticisms and concerns. All right. Opponents, including Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers and Representative Jamie Ratskin, have condemned the arrest as attacks on judicial independence. Evers accused the Trump administration of using dangerous rhetoric to undermine our judiciary, while Ratskin called Dugan's arrest a drastic escalation in an authoritarian campaign to intimidate judges. Legal scholars like former FBI Special Agent Asha Rangapapa argue that proving corrupt intent in obstruction cases is challenging, and the public nature of Dugan's arrest at her courthouse may create a chilling effect on the judiciary. Yeah, it's going to hold them responsible is what it's going to do, because there's videotaped evidence of it all. There's also concern about the impact on immigrant communities, which I really could care less about. Critics argue that ICE arrests at courthouse deter undocumented immigrants from attending hearings, seeking protective orders, or reporting crimes, which they're not doing. They're there because they're required to be there because they're in the country illegally, and they're breaking our laws at the same time. Undermining access to justice. Milwaukee's ICE office has stated its targets only those with criminal charges at courthouses, not victims or witnesses. But the fear persists because of the mainstream media and the Democrats. The case for lawful arrests. Supporters of the arrests include Trump's border czar Tom Homan and Attorney General Bondi, argue that no one, not even a judge, is above the law. Homan stated on X, if you actively impede our enforcement efforts or knowingly harbor illegal aliens from ICE, you will be prosecuted. These actions are felonies. The administration emphasizes that both Flores, Ruiz, and Ortega pose public safety risks. Flores, Ruiz do to his alleged violent crimes, and Ortega, due to suspected gang ties, allowing such individuals to evade ICE, they argue, endangers communities and flouts federal authority. From a legal standpoint, the arrests appear well-grounded. Dugan's alleged actions, diverting ICE agents and escorting Flores Ruiz through a restricted exit, fit the criteria for obstruction and concealment. Cano's admission to destroying evidence clearly violates federal law. The Justice Department's authority to investigate and prosecute such conduct extends to all individuals, including judges, who are not immune from criminal liability for actions outside their judicial duties. Implications and what's next. These cases highlight a growing tension between federal immigration enforcement and state judicial systems. The Trump administration's willingness to arrest sitting and former judges sends a clear message. Interference with ICE operations will face severe consequences. However, it also risks escalating conflicts with state officials and the judiciary, potentially leading to legal challenges over the scope of the federal authority. Dugan's next court appearance is scheduled for May 15, 2025.